It was a time of war. The planes would leave, marking the sky with their battle colors, as the distant fading sound of their engines gave way to silence. One of those planes was Halifax LW682. The crew were Canadians, and their mission, the railway marshalling yards just east of Brussels. Returning home after their assignment, the aircraft disappeared over Belgium, near the ageless town of Geraardsbergen. As the years passed, a legend grew. Some said the plane had glided into the bog. Others believed the aircraft landed hard, coming apart as it crashed through the trees of the Belgian forest. Either way, the plane had sunk like a giant stone into the marsh, and as the legend persisted, young minds had dreamed of finding the great Halifax in the forest. After 53 years, no one really knew anymore. If the plane existed, it was below ground level. The crew had perished, and 5 members of the team had been buried at the local cemetery. 2 men from Canada began a quest. Karl and Scott, an aviation retrieval expert, had been instrumental in the recovery of Halifax NA337 from Norway. Halifax NA337 was found to be in excellent condition and was returned to Canada as a major restoration project in the town of Trenton, Ontario. Karl dreamed of finding another Halifax for Canada. He spoke with Jay Hammond. They became eager to test their theory of recovering Halifax LW682 from the bog in Belgium. Jay's objectives were different. On behalf of the families, he wanted to recover the remains of the missing crewmen, including those of his uncle, and give the men a proper burial. A unique team was formed, including Scott Knox, who would cover the recovery operation on the internet.
Well, we've just verified the internet connection with Ottawa, and everything is there. The site is available to us, and now I'm going to check to make sure that our connection to Belgium is going to work, and this is just a test, but it seems to be working just fine.
Enter into the picture a group known as BAHA. They have been formed in Belgium to locate, recover, and preserve old aircraft. Merging with this dedicated group of professionals was essential if the recovery of LW682 was to succeed. Saturday morning, and Karl and Scott joins Tony Little and Ed Ray, 2 RCAF veterans, to witness the beginning of the recovery.
It's the mystery. It's just like Norway, man. We step onto the edge of the twilight zone, and then we go into it as we work. And when we get finished is when we get finished. Hopefully everything's successful, 100%.
If enthusiasm will do it, we've got it done. Get all of the enthusiasm in the world here.
Ja, absolutt, men den bekken her var
They're bringing out a lot of small and loose pieces, and you got the real strong smell of aviation fuel. You can see here this is a elevator piece and the torque tube between the 2 elevators. There is some question. It might be rudder, but it is off the tail. And more pieces are coming out fast and heavy now. So the main pieces of the aircraft that we're seeing now are in about 3 to 4 meters of earth, and mostly so far medium-sized pieces, nothing very large. And they're trying to gauge whether or not the pieces that we're seeing now are connected to a main airframe assembly or whether it's just loose pieces. You can see the stuff coming off now is getting larger. Oh wow.
Halifax serial.
Yeah, yeah. Type Halifax, serial EEP. Yeah, okay, all right. Edwin, can you tell the guy to lift slowly, slowly, slowly? You know, you see, you've got more eyeballs on what wreckage looks like. I haven't seen too much of this underground.
That's what I said before. Nobody believes that, but only when you see a wreckage you realize how it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, magnesium. See, magnesium alloy. Main, yeah. See how the magnesium goes? Magnesium gets eaten up.
You don't need Karl is mixed into the group now, and there's quite a group over here going on with the parts as they're pulled out. They're not missing any detail, any small pieces. They are meticulously cleaning off the heavy mud and examining it for part numbers. They've found part numbers on some of the pieces that they've pulled out. Over here you can see that that's the self-sealing tank part of it. It was a thick membrane, and the idea was that small arms ammunition hit it, it would go in and stay in the tank and not cause fire.
So when you were younger, what was the story here?
Well, let's say 20 years ago, I almost lost my life over here because this was a swamp and some like quicksand, mud and so. And me and a couple of friends, we came over here looking for that airplane, and I went first and I disappeared into the quicksand and the mud almost up to here. And one of my friends, he gave me a stick, handed me over a stick, and that's how he pulled me out again. And now 20 years later, we are looking for that aircraft again. It's a nice experience.
How do you think things are going right now?
Well, I think it's going well, but the big parts are still to come, I believe, because we found some bigger parts closer to the surface. They are digging like 6 or 7 meters deep now, but the bigger parts, I think, are much closer to the ground, to the surface of the ground.
If you look down now, you'll see that yellow material. That is the dinghy, or the lifeboat that is used in case you landed on water. It had some supplies in there, so it'd keep you alive for a few days in water, as long as you were very prudent. Now the fuselage, between the fuselage and the port inner wing, there's a patch, a panel, which would open automatically as soon as it hit. The dinghy then means that you're now at the main part of the fuselage. So the suggestion amounts to we are going to be finding the main part of the fuselage very shortly. We're in that area now.
Okay, so we're working our way to the south of the main start of the excavation, and what did Sinrik say about the stuff that he's found so far?
Well, he's pleased with everything that's coming up. It looks like it was a pretty major crash. It looks like there was, you know, this wasn't a soft landing. Parts of the engine broke off that suggested it landed very hard. So that may eventually translate into difficulty in finding remains of people. However, we found a few parts that are intact that suggest, you know, that there are parts that are there to be found. So we're pleased. We're pleased.
Well, we'll keep working and see what we come up with. There's still plenty of time to go.
Yep.
Right here. So this is the back. It makes more sense.
So it makes no sense that the tail was sticking out of the metal. That's what I always said. It was impossible. What they have found was large pieces of metal from the outer wings and maybe of the tail, but I didn't find the tail turrets.
Okay, so are we working to the south, and we figure there's more to the south from this point, like that way?
We're trying to figure out where the outer engine is. So it may be here. We don't know yet.
Okay.
So, and we're looking in that direction probably, yeah?
Yeah, because we have to decide to conserve activity and to get to the heart of the airplane, we have to decide which way to go.
Yes, but we're not in a hurry. It goes very good. We have no problems with the soil.
Yeah.
There's not too much water, so we can continue working from one side of the plane towards the fuselage.
Yeah.
And we're not in a hurry, so we can maybe the fuselage in the afternoon. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. Keep moving on it.
All right. Het vervolg, niet met wat we in het vervolg doen, zoveel mogelijk eruit sleuren en niet met die een bak te kippen. Ja, de hogere plek. Oké. Ja, gewoon afkraken. Ja, afkraken.
Over at the site tent, Scott has been photographing the events of the day and transferring them digitally to the internet.
How do you get that from there to hard copy, a photograph?
Well, you would just send it. You can't necessarily get a photograph, but you use a color printer, and you can get almost photographic quality.
Yes.
So there's a cylinder.
Yes.
We'll zoom in a little bit.
You could print out that size then.
Or you can print it any size you wish. Yeah, within reason.
Something's been found by the plane, and Marine Tom, Jay Hammond's sister, thinks they may have found something from their uncle Wilbur Bentz.
Oké, we know. We weten met wie dat men bezig zijn.
Put your water in. WB dance. Wow. That's WB. Wow. You see that? You see that? Great. That's great.
No, let's hold on here. Oh, no. Jack McIntyre, the wireless operator. When his brother died 3 years ago.
Oh, you're kidding.
Okay, J.E.C. Jack Edward McIntyre. Wow. All right. Okay. Now dealing with a missing. Yep. Okay, but it's important to go put it. You want to hold on?
In an area not far from the crash site, mud and sand are removed from each piece of the aircraft.
Okay, there you go. There is your 50 caliber mid-under gun. And man, I'll tell you, it's a heavy piece, but it's a real find. It's a real treasure. You can see the mounting mechanism here, but I'm just looking. I'm looking in the breech, and I can see the butt end of a 50 caliber shell here, right in the breech. So they were ready for. They were loaded for bear.
And this is really something unusual to see this. I've read about it in all the history books, but I've never seen a mid-under gun installation before. And you can see it's quite a big installation, and the 50 caliber packed a really good wallop. A real treasure. You know, the Canadians are very quiet about their combat record, but in England, in the bomber squadrons, Canadians have a very excellent record.
Well, that is also my opinion. I remember a little words from father and mother,
Yeah.
and it was sure very positive for the Canadians. They
Yes.
spoke from Canadian people with.
Yes. And do you know that Canadian veterans are treated better in Europe than they are in Canada? You see, because you have your freedom now, but once you did not. And now everyone realizes it is very important.
Yes, I always speak. We have to remember the people from the Allied, the English, Canadian, Americans, Polish also.
Yes.
The Polish people. We have to respect them for our freedom.
We just found the parachutes slot.
Oh yeah, the four-way
Yeah.
parachute harness lock.
Yeah, so at this very moment we're still working on the remains of some of the crew.
Yeah.
And also found the escape evasion set with the maps and the money in it.
Wow,
Yeah,
the money and all the
Yes,
maps are there?
We're not gonna open it right now because it's sealed.
Yes.
And we will open it at the appropriate time, because if we open it right now, you can't do it with the same. Well, they just found the lighter.
You're doing a great job.
Now, one of the things that I understand that you can show us here is a cigarette lighter.
Yep.
Belonging to one of the crew members.
Belonging to Fred Roach.
Fred Roach.
Yep. Fred, he was one of the 3 missing guys.
How do you know it's Fred Roach's? What gives you the indication?
It's a Ronson lighter, and it has his initials on it.
Right.
And with a little bit of elbow grease and a toothpick here, it looks like it could probably be made to work.
So that has got his initials.
It's got
here.
his initials. FR on it.
That was also typical of the age.
Right.
Ronson lighters, we all carried Ronson lighters.
And everyone, I guess, got their initials put in.
All had their initials put on it.
Well, that's
Or they put an Air Force crest down on the side.
Okay, well, that's great.
So,
his sister just found out about this project a little while ago, and you know, for us to be able to give this to her, wow, what a keepsake.
Okay, we're pulling up a main gear tire here now. You can see the gear oleo, and man, I'll tell you, this airplane is hit awfully hard with that kind of force to drive the main gear down that deep. We're looking at least, I would say, 13 to 15 feet. Oh, and there comes this is the hazard of excavations like this. You see, if there was a man down in that hole, you would have quite a major problem here getting that guy out when the sides give way. That's why you've got to have the water table reduced so that you can control it. But here, look up in the bucket, you can see the gear oleos there, and those have very good fittings on them that are very hard to find at this point in time. Main gear tire and wheel and gear oleos, and believe it or not, actually some of those parts from that gear leg, those gear legs can be used. Yeah, well, Jay, you saw the gear leg down there. What we're looking at about 14, 15 feet. So you can imagine what kind of an angle we're talking about and the kind of speed we're talking about to get that kind of penetration.
Yeah, it looks like the eyewitness accounts talk of the plane coming in at a fairly shallow angle, and perhaps it did, but it looks like it may have just nosed right in and going pretty fast.
Yeah.
So this latest piece, finding part of the undercarriage there is just excellent. That's excellent.
Yeah.
The remains of 3 crew members had been found. As the men were prepared to be taken back to the city, Jay and his sister still had not found any sign of their uncle, pilot Wilbur Bentz. As night fell on the first day, the recovery team planned Sunday's schedule of events.
We have found 2 machine guns. I have seen the ring on which the metaphor turret revolves. We have found a kind of a system with all the degrees which was around the ring in mirror image. So there was probably a system with a little mirror, so he knew exactly at how many degrees he was, and in the middle of that ring we have found those remains.
Sunday morning, and the search continues for the final missing crew member, the pilot. To accomplish this, it has been decided that they must locate the front portion of the aircraft.
Well, why are you here?
Well, because for me this is going to be closure. Hopefully we are finding Wibb's body later today, or certainly the remains of his body we expect to find in the cockpit. And I've always grown up with this image of my mom's brother. This picture, as you see here, on her dresser as I was a small child, and as I got older, it's always been something for me that's unfinished business. And I'm looking forward to this finally closing the book today. Obviously, with all the people that were killed in the war, all the men and women, there are bound to be other situations that are probably not that unlike ours. And hopefully, this may spur some people on to actually start and investigate and do some research and find out about what's happened to their loved ones. I think probably for a lot of people, they maybe don't have the same need for closure that I certainly have.
Jay, we got some stuff that's just come out of the ground. What do we got there?
We've got the identification numbers of this Halifax, LW682. And
Wow.
If ever there was any doubt as to what Halifax this was,
Yeah.
I think this puts it to rest forever.
Now, this particular airplane has been supposedly reported missing twice.
Yep, 3 times actually. It was with 432 Squadron and was lost to Dusseldorf, but that turned out to be an administrative error. Then it was lost in the big Nuremberg raid, and that was another administrative error. And then it was lost with my uncle and the other buddies in May of '44. So yeah, it's had a somewhat checkered past, that's for sure. So,
wow. Well, there we are. It's verified, huh?
Verified, yeah. we know what we're dealing with, that's for sure.
Oh, that's great. We're just working this morning on Sunday morning. Scott, how has it been working with the website and the internet in the last 24 hours?
Seems to be not too bad. We checked the number of hits last night. We got 200 hits on the page that we just made yesterday.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Good.
And we've got about 20 emails, and they're coming in fast and furious. Last night when I was trying to get a hold of the Calgary Herald, I got 3 messages just while I was after you left me.
Yeah.
We got 3 messages right away, and there's a lot of different people calling, sending messages, good luck. You know, there's messages for the cameramen. There's all kinds of good stuff coming down the pipe, and seems to be a lot of hits. A lot of people I think are regular customers, and they're coming to visit and check out what we put up every few hours. So far so good. The little camera's working well. Had a little trouble with the email last night, but we got that figured out.
Yeah.
At least I think we did. And so yeah, worldwide exposure, and looking pretty good.
Well, Jay, the guys were over there just doing some final searching through some of the smaller piles of the wreckage, and what have we found here?
Well, it's a pretty special find. It says F. Roach on it, and then it has an identity number for it. So this is Fred's watch.
Wow.
Wow.
And it's got his regimental number on it?
Regimental number on it, 187860. So to find Fred's watch, his sister is sure going to be happy.
Yeah, Marjorie Wise, she's going to love that.
She's going to love it.
Yeah.
She was when I told her that we had found Fred yesterday. She was pretty emotional about it, and then being able to see this.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
A great memento for the family. Now,
Special.
Fred Roach was the
he was
tail
a rear
gunner?
gunner. That's
the
right.
Rear gunner, yeah.
Rear gunner.
Great.
So and we've got Fred now.
Yeah.
And now we've got something even more
Great.
special to give to him.
Oh, that's
great.
wonderful. Yeah.
We did well.
Now, Peter, we have here Mr. Franks, and he was here as an eyewitness. Tell me about his experience with the aircraft here in the bog.
Oké. Wanneer zijn jij juist ter plekke gekomen na de impact van het vliegtuig?
Zonderdoos om 8 uur na 11.
So he arrived on the spot because he lived only 300 meters from here, and he came, let's say, about 5-6 hours after the crash of the plane. He arrived here on this very site.
Oh. So he was one of the very first people here. How old was he when he came here?
Je werd dus laat worden op dat moment dat het gebeurd is?
Wel, dat is gebeurd in 22 jaar.
22 jaar, ja. Was er dan nog veel volk rond op het moment dat dat
Ja,
gebeurd is?
maar nee, die stonden allemaal op die boon. Hè.
Ah ja, en jij bent van hinder gekomen?
Ik ben van achter gekomen, van een bos in. Want je mocht er niet bij.
Okay.
En in het bos hebben we alle stikken opgeropt. Dat lag ook in het bos en we hebben dat allemaal opgeropt. En dat werd er bijna dan ons gezien.
Ja.
Dus we moeten weglopen. Hè.
So
what does he say?
There were people standing around, but they were on the top of that little hill, and he came through the bushes by the river. He came over here, and he found that piece. So, but at a very moment the Germans arrived, and he had to run away because
so the piece that he has here is what?
The axe is the only thing he could save while he was running away, because he also took a propeller blade, but it was too heavy to save himself. He dropped it, but the axe he held it in his hand and he ran.
So this is the crash axe from LW682.
That's it. That's it.
Okay. And what you say he wants to do something with this?
Ja. Dus de bedoeling is na met dat bel dat je het wilt geven om de familie en om het museum voor de Canadese ding. He said he hold it with him for 53 years because the only people he want to give it is the Canadians, the relatives, the museum, and the Royal Canadian Air Force. So it's an honor for him. He can handle it over to you.
Well, Mr. Franks, yep, thank you. Beautiful. Thank you on behalf of Canada. Thank you very much for this wonderful gift. This is part of our history. It will go in the Royal Canadian Air Force Museum, and we will treasure it. Thank you again.
As the project drew to a close, late word came to Maureen and Jay that the remains of the third man that had been recovered was that of Wilbur Benz.
I have very, very mixed emotions. I'm extremely happy to be here. It's something I could never have dreamt about. I'm quite sad when I have thoughts about my brother. I was very close to him. We were pals. We worked together for the last 2 or 3 years in industry. And I'm also sad because I had 6 other siblings who are no longer living, and I wish this could have happened 30 years ago. When they were alive, they would have been overwhelmed by it. And my mother was alive then also. And she She was really shook up when she got the telegram that Tom was missing.
Almighty God, we join together in this place and time to remember before you the crew members of Halifax LW682 Mike, who laid down their lives in the pursuit of justice and truth. We give thanks for their service and recall the supreme sacrifice they paid so that we might live in freedom and peace. We commend their souls to your continued and gracious keeping and pray that the peace they sought to bring others may be their reward and consolation. Amen. Gracious God, our Creator, Sustainer, and Redeemer, help us, we pray, in this service and in our lives to remember our obligation to honor those who gave their lives in service to our country, and to remember with respect and dignity their self-sacrifice. Lord God of hosts, be with them yet, lest we forget, lest we forget.
As for the courage of the young men here today, I find that the words of other people make it easier for me to make this presentation. So I will use the words of a British author, C.K. Chesterton, who once said, "Courage is almost a contradiction in terms. It means a strong desire to live, but it has to take the form of a readiness to die."
It is through the contribution of a number of organizations and the people of Belgium, particularly the citizen of Geraardsbergen, in whose community the crew of LW682 will have been laid to rest, that we are able now to close a chapter in both family and Air Force history. Of the 426 members of the squadron, the Thunderbird Squadron who lost their lives during the war. There remain 112 who have no known grave. In the words of the Kohima prayer, and when you go home, tell them this of us and say that for their tomorrow we gave our today. We will remember them.
Oh, I have slipped the surly bonds of earth and danced the skies of laughter silvered wings. Sunward I climbed and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds, and done 100 things you have not dreamed of, wheeled and soared and swung high in the sunlight silence. Hovering there, I chased the shouting wind along and flung my eager craft through the footless halls of air. Up, up the long, delirious, burning blue, I topped the wind-swept heights with easy grace, where never lark or even eagle flew. And while the silent, lifting mind I trod, the high untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touched the face of God.
The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not be in want. He makes me lie down in green pastures and leads me beside still waters. He revives my soul and guides me along right pathways for his name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You spread a table before me in the presence of those who trouble me. You have anointed my head with oil, and my cup is running over. Surely your goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Present arm. Shoulder arm. Order arm. With blank cartridges standing low. Present fire. Reload. Present. Fire. Reload. Present. Fire. Guard make safe. Order arm. Shoulder arm. Guard present arm.
You know, and what a tribute to a pilot. What a tribute to all those airmen, that missing man formation. You couldn't give a higher tribute to them, and I lost it with that. You know, and then to see that smoking plane,
smoking plane, and the pipes were playing.
Yes.
The smoking plane.
Yes. Oh, it was very, very emotional, very profound. I tell you. Wonderful.
I think the Belgian people in cooperation with Karl and other people is a wonderful thing. We've accomplished the mission after all these weeks and months of planning and searching. We have buried today with dignity and honor 3 of the crew. We've got a lot of spare parts for the reconstruction of the Halifax and Trenton, and I think everybody should be congratulated on a job well done.
How did you feel about it?
I guess finally being able to say goodbye, hello and goodbye, since we never met him. Feeling good that we were able to represent my mother and my grandmother and grandfather, because it's something that they never spoke much of, and I imagine because they were very hurt by it and saddened by it. My mother used to share, on rainy days we'd get the old photo albums out, take a look at the photo albums, and would be asking her questions. You know, who's this person, who's that? And because they thought Wib had polio at one time, he went to school with her in the same grade, so of course their friends were mutual friends, and they did things together, which is really exceptional for siblings. And she used to tell us some really neat stories, you know, and how they got along so well, and how much she missed him. And I know she missed him because my father had 3 brothers and 2 sisters, and if he didn't call them, my mom would be on his case about keeping in touch. And the bottom line there was always, if I had my brother, you know, I would always be wanting to know how he was, where he was, what he was doing.
Well, we're at a luncheon that's in honor of the men that were downed in that Halifax plane, one of which was my brother, Fred Roach, who was the tail gunner in the Halifax. We've just been through the most touching and the most honorable tribute to 3 downed airmen that I have ever witnessed. I am very proud of my brother, as I'm sure the other relatives are, and to be able to say goodbye to him and to have had the opportunity to know, after all these years, where that plane went down, to have visited that site, and to have been able to take part in this wonderful tribute.
Jay Hammond and I have been commuting back and forth since 1987 on this, digging up evidence and stuff that he wanted. And he was, he'd phone me or I'd phone him. He'd send me letters and I'd send him letters, and it was a great thing. He done a lot of work though. He opened a lot of doors. So it was really great. I'm really thankful for these boys here in Belgium. They done a fine job. That BAHA is a real organization.
I couldn't believe it. It's like something you read in a storybook, but it never happens to you. And it's been just fabulous. The people have been outstanding. There's just no word for all the nice things they've done for us. And I know my mother would really feel satisfied knowing that he's been placed with the rest of the crew. It's been terribly emotional from the time it happened, but we're all very pleased.
Geraardsbergen getting even more riches than that. We're getting back our men and our honor. And this is damage control. And one last comment about Sinrig and BAHA. I have never seen such a hardworking and more organized and wonderful group. And I would like you, officials of Belgium, to please take note of this group. And with all of your aviation heritage and all that you have, that treasure of the history, I would ask you, Belgian officials, to look at them and let them become your agents to rediscover your heritage. And I would highly recommend them as a recoverer of aircraft, that these guys are first class, top class, and please help them as they build up their displays and their heritage. This is a wonderful group, and I thank you. God bless all of you, and let us be friends forever. Thank you.
It's almost 13 years to the day, actually, and I was in Vancouver, and my mom had just been buried, and I was going through her papers and being really melancholy, and I came across a couple of letters that she had written to and received the answers from the archives in Ottawa. And I guess I really didn't know just how much she still missed her brother. And at that time, it was a full 40 years after he had died. And so I read the letters from my uncle, and that's how I really got into what this was all about. And it was a labor of love. I love my mother, and I miss her dearly to this day. And I know I can rest satisfied that no one can do more than we have. I've met so many people. I've had so much given to me from the heart, and so much help. I couldn't begin to name some of them.
It was with Erwin that I went for the first time to the crash site 2 years ago, and that we were there on the edge of the pool, and that we were saying to each other, well, those 3 guys deserve much better. And that's when the plan started, and the rest of the story you know. We had contact with Jay Hammond then, who helped us a great deal, and Karl and Scott,
who got the money to do it. And of course, two other persons we really would like to mention. These are Peter van der Parre. Please come here, Peter. I know you've got to stand here. And Stefan Delanois, because they called us in the beginning of this year, I think, and they said, well, we would like to do it, and we said, well, we're working on it, so we worked together, and that was the team which did it.
Halifax LW682 would now be remembered by not only those families from Canada, but by the members of the squadron. Not only by the Belgian Aviation History Association, but by the people of Belgium themselves. Yes, they had found the missing men, and yes, the ceremony was something the town of Geraardsbergen should be very proud of. But still, there is a legacy. The aircraft would now no longer simply be a legend, but a powerful source of heritage for future generations.
Now, during the recovery, there was a wallet found. Normally, airmen didn't wear their identity in their wallet. However, we found in the wallet 2 small travel cards, I don't know how to say, but one of them has mentioned Nova Scotia. This was the place where the crew sailed off towards the front. And another one, well, it said, it was a piece teared off, and it said T4 to Simcoe. I think, Doug, this was the ticket your father kept in his wallet when he left you. And we would like that Wim Govaerts, who has found it, he will give it to you. So this is the end for us. And after this dinner, I would like to invite all the people of BAHA to end where we started this project. We will go together to the cemetery. Thank you very much.
Well, I knew my brother was buried here. We were sent that information by the government shortly after the war. And I always wanted to come over to this city and say a little prayer at his grave site. And I was given the opportunity, and I really, really appreciate everything that was done by Canadian officials and by Belgium authorities here. The hospitality of the Belgian people that we've met is absolutely unbelievable. And as an example, I just like to show you a token they gave me. This is a part of a navigator's equipment. It works like a slide rule. And my brother was the navigator. And I can just imagine he'd be very good at doing the calculations. I used a slide rule when I went to university, and it was a circular one, so I really appreciate them giving me this. They found it when they dug up the plane a month and a half ago.
Also, I'd like to say that I'd like to thank all the Belgian people for their hospitality and I mean, their efforts that they've done here. It's unbelievable that they volunteered for all this.
Tell me, How do you feel about today?
I feel it was quite overwhelming. I didn't expect quite everything that went on, and it was just wonderful. And my mother and my father would have been so proud. I'm sure that they rest easy now that we have found my brother and we know exactly where he is. It's something that worried my mother and father until their deaths. And of course, we never ever thought that we would ever find him. But we have, and it's all settled, and it's wonderful. Everyone's been just terrific.
Do you feel that you've got this taken care of now? Like you're happy with the situation?
Very definitely. As I say, we have closure, and we can continue with our lives knowing that he's got his proper and right burial and farewell. May he rest in peace.
Tables long all come together, a Belgian town star touched in time. There's one more plane that lies in the forest, a Halifax it's there to find. Come one, come all to the Belgian forest, come one, come all, see on or fly. And in the hands you'll see reflections as history carves itself in time. Who are we to make distinctions from another era of our lives? It's for the future generations, it's for the future younger eyes. Come one, come all to the Belgian forest, come one, come all, see on or fly. And in the hands you'll see reflections as history carves itself in time. Come one, come all to the Belgian forest, come one, come all, see on or fly. And in the hands you'll see reflections as history carves itself in time. Come one, come all to the Belgian forest, come one, come all, see on or fly. And in the hands you'll see reflections as history carves itself in time. Come one, come all to the Belgian forest, come one, come all, see on or fly. And in the hands you'll see reflections as history carves itself in time.